Hey friend, IRKO here with the Recording Revolution. In this video we're gonna talk about frequency placements for our mixes. Let's go! Okay, so in a lot of these videos we're quick to get to the plugin, turn the knob, talk about the treatment or whatever. Before we get to that though, I want to explain to you my thinking, my philosophy of how I look at frequency placement so that hopefully you can improve your own mixes. Let's start talking about a trunk. Not this one, not this one, not this one. Okay, yes, this one. In a car's trunk, right, the dimensions of the cargo is determined by the trunk itself. We got the width, the depth, and the height, and that's what we got to work with. Also, another thing is that however much stuff we want to put inside of this trunk, we want to be able to close it so that we can drive safely. Right, not like that. In the very best case scenario, we can hear from 20 to 20,000 hertz. The very best case scenario, because in order for you to hear 20 hertz, you need to have a very big woofer and space. And the same goes for the 20,000 hertz. In order to hear it, you either have to be a baby or a dog. Now let's divide the frequency range in low end, so say 20 to 200. Then mid-range, say 200 to 6,000. And then we got the high, 6,000 to 20,000. Now these numbers are not absolute or anything, it's just to kind of give you an idea of the ranges of these three bands, right? But as you can see, the low end is only 180 cycles when the mid-range is 5,800 and the high end is 14,000. It's a lot bigger. So let's say we want to add a tambourine. Tambourine will probably be living somewhere here in the high end frequency range. Because we have so much space, we're not really worried about interfering with, say, the hi-hat. So let's say the hi-hat sits somewhere there, it won't really interfere that much with the tambourine. Now let's put the vocals in. Vocals would most likely live somewhere in this area. So what happens when we add, say, a piano? Well, we gotta make sure that we don't sit it where the vocal is sitting, so they complement each other and not fight one another. Now let's add the bass. I'm sitting it at 100 hertz, maybe, something like that. And now for the kick drum. By placing the kick drum at around 150 to 100 hertz or whatever, now I'm leaving space for the bass to actually live. The thing is, because the low end frequencies are so little, we have to be a lot more decisive with what we're gonna do with our low end instruments. Now, as we add more and more elements, we're gonna fill up the entire spectrum. And one thing that we wanna keep in mind is that a nice even balance of all these elements will translate into a mix that's dense and pleasurable to the ears. So if our frequency response looks like this, that's probably not that great of a mix. Or same if it goes like this, or if it's like this and then Now the low end has a lot more energy, so it's normal for the low end to be more prominent and louder in our levels compared to the high end. But we want to achieve a trajectory that's usually somewhat even. You know what I mean? Okay, so because the low end is the most difficult part to really get right, I want to show three things that we can do to achieve that bass, to kick drum separation. So here we got our bass track, which is the 808, our kick drum, and our clap. This analyzer is going to show us what I'm looking and listening for. The 808, as I'm soloing it, you see it lives really deeply here in the 30-40 hertz area, right? Now I'm soloing the kick, same frequency range, that's not okay. This shows us the frequency response of the kick, and we see that there's like a first initial hit here somewhere around 150 or something. And then there's a second wave that's deeper in the low end. Now we do not want that deep low end because that's the bass frequency range. One way to go about this would be to cut anything that's under 60 hertz in this case and favor the upper part of the kick drum somewhere around 160. Now check this out, right? This is the low end, you see it comes in real nice and thick here. And now we're adding the kick drum with the filter. See, now the kick drum only is existing here. So you'll see as both hit, we kind of have that effect of right? The first attack is the kick, and then the bass comes in. You see there's like a little dance that's happening here. Boom, 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 boom. Well, we achieved what we were after, which is the separation between the kick and the bass using frequency. Let's use another technique. Here what I want to do is work on the volume of the bass by doing an automation. When the kick is happening, I do not want the bass to be happening. So let's turn it down, say 8 dBs, whatever. These numbers, of course, all change based on the situation and the production. But anytime we have a kick drum happening, the bass is not happening. You can achieve this effect by doing automations like I'm doing right now, or you can use side chaining, which is basically having the compressor do this exact interaction with the bass. Okay, now check it. Anytime the kick is happening, the bass is ducking down. And that allows me to retain the frequency response of the kick drum, but to not interfere with the bass. There's another way to do this. Okay, as I'm zoomed into the kick drum, you see the low end frequency develops a little later, right? So what we want to do is move the bass after that section. And it will be actually nice to keep it in phase, so something like that. Now, again, you're gonna have to listen to this because we don't want the effect of pa-tum, pa-tum, pa-tum. That wouldn't sound right, unless that's what we're going for. So try it out, but by doing this, we achieve the same thing. When the low end of the kick drum is happening, it's not interfering with the low end of the bass. Magical. Okay, so remember, the space in a trunk is finite, and that's exactly how audio works. So when you place your elements in your mix, make sure you put them in a manner to where they don't overlap one another too much, okay? We want to be able to close this trunk and drive around, not like those guys with the camels hanging off of the back, right? You see, this block wall and all these concrete surfaces make me think of at least a couple of episodes that I have on this new line of videos on my YouTube channel, where I'm showing you how I'm building the best recording studio in Los Angeles. And it's made of concrete. You wanna take a look? Well, alright, the concrete extravaganza is over. Well, at least the first half, I guess. You wanna see what happened? Basically, 4 of these trucks came. You see that red pump thing behind it? That's where the concrete was dumped into, and then from there it went to the hose, which eventually, you know, put the concrete in the forms. You wanna see some very satisfying footage of the concrete pour? Let's go.